Okay, so the director or the board of directors, they have overall responsibility for health and safety. And I put this note in about not a sacrificial role on the board, because this was an old-fashioned process that occurred in UK businesses. And the health and safety executive in the UK has sought to try to stamp this out. And so what they used to have is they'd have one of the board of directors who was made responsible for health and safety. And the idea being that if some kind of health and safety incident happened, then they could be made the sacrificial lamb. And so where something occurred within the organization and there was a serious problem, a serious accident, then that member of the board could be fired to show to stakeholders and shareholders that the organization had reacted to this by sacking the person responsible. And so the HSE, with their drive towards corporate manslaughter, have tried to stamp this out. And so they've said that ultimately the managing director of the organization, the overall owner, needs to be the person that's responsible for health and safety. So one single person. And where the organization is, where it is a board, and typically you might argue it's the chair of the board. But the idea is that if there is a fatality in the workplace, then that individual is then held personally responsible and can potentially face a jail sentence. And despite quite a number of attempts now to bring about a case for corporate manslaughter, they haven't managed to get a successful prosecution with a punishment that has involved a jail sentence. There's always been too much in the way of mitigating circumstances for the director, and so they've usually involved a fine. The director has overall responsibility, and they have to come up with a policy. So what they do is they give an overall organizational direction for health and safety. So very detached from things, they just give direction. They can give culture to some extent, but they just give the overall policy and aims. The departmental or regional manager receives this, and they have to turn this into more actionable things. And so they also have overview. They have some accountability, but only as part of their role, so they are not personally responsible. It is their job post that is responsible. Through statistics and performance review, they can oversee the health and safety specialist staff, and if they don't have specialist staff, then the managers who are to do the risk assessments in the various areas of the organization. Again, they are quite detached. They monitor the actions of the manager and will typically appraise the actions of the manager from some progress towards targets that they've been given. So they take the overall policy and aims and turn it into actionable items. The line manager. Now this person is the main engine for getting things sorted out with regards to health and safety. So they are target driven. They receive their targets from the regional manager or the departmental manager, and they are directly involved in the running of each of the teams or departments. They are the link both for communication downwards through the organization and upwards from the employees between the management and the staff. They have direct responsibility. They can hire and fire. And so whereas the regional or departmental manager might be involved in the hiring and firing of staff, very commonly it goes down to the line manager's level. They're also particularly important in the psychological contract between the employer and the worker, and in their role as implementer in health and safety and that psychological contract, they have a large part to play in the idea of a positive health and safety culture. So in health and safety, the line managers are the people that you want to get on board with you as the people to facilitate your aims. Some things worth noting actually before we move on to supervisors. They inspire and support, or depending on the type of business, management style in manufacturing industries, which have large numbers of relatively unskilled staff, can be quite controlling and very dictatorial. Whereas if you have larger numbers of more professional staff, then you have a kind of mutual trust arrangement, and so they have much more professional autonomy. And so the health and safety approach taken by the line manager, and consequently and the general management is going to be completely different in each of these two management approaches, management styles. The supervisor, usually supervising a small number of staff, they have very little power. They can't hire or fire. But they do have direct involvement on a day-to-day basis in the minutiae of the business. They're an overseer, and they can become a small-scale compliance policeman for the line manager and for the organization. If they are, if you can get them to act as such, then they can inspire and drive their employees in addition to supporting them. If you can't, then they can actually act as a shield for poor actions by employees and hide those from line management staff, or can help to legitimize poor actions by employees. They are the main conduit for communication, and so that's both to the employee in a way that they might trust, but also from the employee. They can represent the employee's interests to the line manager. They can summarize and legitimize that communication too. Excuse me. They are a facilitator. And then peon, the coal-face worker, the lowest level in the organization, smallest part. They have very little power. They only have power if they collect together, for instance, in unionized environments. However, with regards to health and safety, they are an expert in the micro-level action and direction of the workplace. They're strongly influencing the actions by the organizational culture, but can be rather unpredictable. For instance, and this is one of the primary arguments against the corporate manslaughter argument, is health and safety legislation in the UK does not allow for people acting in an unpredictable and irresponsible manner. And consequently, it is said that the director cannot really sensibly be held accountable if someone that is 4 levels down from them in the organization goes and does something silly in a forklift truck. So the lowest level workers, they are human and they act as humans. However, they also know how their job is done in practice rather than how the management might like it to be done. And so these are the people that you will need to get the expert opinion of in the minutiae in order to carry out your risk assessments and control measures effectively.